It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's leadership lecture series, where we are honored to have a visionary leader in the field of technology grace our stage. Today, we are privileged to welcome a luminary in the field of technology and leadership, Mr. Alok Ohrie, the President and Managing Director of Dell Technologies India. Now, I will invite Mr. Kaviraj Nair, CEO, Office of Institutional Advancement, to introduce our guest.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you to today's session on the leadership lecture series. I actually was going through the profile and we ended up writing a one full pager on the profile with his accomplishments. But I think I will just summarize it in a few words before handing over the uh, yeah, no, I'll still do that for the sake of formality and all of that. Mr. Alok Ohrie leads Dell Technologies India and is responsible for business strategy, sales and development, marketing, operations, manufacturing, and government engagements. Widely recognized as the architect of Dell's innovative go-to-market strategy in India, Alok spearheaded the transformation of the company into an end-to-end technology solution provider. With Alok at the helm, Dell Technologies India has grown at an exponential rate, becoming the fastest growing business for Dell globally. Right. Alok began his Dell journey in 2013. Before joining Dell Technologies India, he has held various leadership roles at IBM, AMD, and EMC, with over 3 decades of experience in the IT/ITES sector. Throughout his career, his work has been continually recognized and rewarded with awards such as, I will read out a few of them: the Outstanding Contribution to IT Industry in 2013, Indian Affairs Most Innovative CEO of the Year 2019. In 2020, he was honored by his alma mater with a Distinguished Alumnus Award. In 2022, he was felicitated with the Best CEO Award by Learning and Organization Development Roundtable in association with the Women Leadership Forum of Asia for the Best Diversity and Inclusion Practices of Asia. And I also read that that's an area that he is really passionate about on DEI is an area that he is really championing. Most recently recognized as Changemaker of Modern India by Outlook Magazine's Independence Day Special Edition of August 2023. I will not take more time on this, but we are extremely privileged and honored to have you here this evening. And we look forward to a very riveting session and a very warm welcome to you to IIT Madras. Thank you.
Okay, that didn't sound like me. Yeah, I was like sitting there and wondering, is he talking about me or talking about somebody else? It sounded like I've already done 50 years, 60 years in work life. No, jokes apart, really honored and privileged to be spending time today evening with the brilliant minds. I've been told by Kaviraj that the audience here is full of people who are going to be the future scientists, future entrepreneurs, future professionals who are going to shape the future of this country. So, nation builders in many ways. And I'm really delighted to be here today. I must share with you that when Kaviraj reached out to me, I was like surprised. I said, why would they like to talk to me? I mean, the youngsters today are at a point where the information is more than enough. You are actually facing a tsunami of information. You are having access to so many different sources from where you can get knowledge, data, and anything that you are looking for. So why would they like to listen to me, who's already at the fag end of his professional career? But then Kavi said, no, you should come in and at least spend some time, let them have an opportunity to ask you questions. I said, sure, I will do that. I like to keep this session a little more interactive. There is no point in me showing you a couple of slides and going away. I would rather have a conversation here. But before I do that, I would like to start by touching on a couple of points that are important for us to set the stage for a conversation. And I like to begin by saying that, look, I'm a big believer in nation building, right? And I can say this with confidence that these are super exciting times in this country. Super exciting times. I say this with a lot of responsibility. I know what I'm talking to youngsters who probably were born maybe 19, 20 years back. What's your average age? 20? Less than 20? 20, right? So I'm talking to youngsters who have just seen 2 decades of life. And a lot has happened in this country in the last 2 decades. So if you go back in time, late 90s, early 2000, you will hear from people of my age that the country was being viewed by the global markets as a country of cost arbitrage. So people were looking at investing in the country, in India, to create business models that could help them bring in more cost efficiency in their businesses globally, right? And that's how people started to set up what today is called as GCCs, Global Competency Centers. So many of the globally headquartered companies outside the country would say, oh, we have a GCC, we have 10,000 people, 30,000 people, 40,000 people. But they were essentially looking at India for bringing in work that could allow them to reduce the overall cost structure in their business at a global level. And it did help. It did help. I think Y2K, which is year 2000 changeover, transition, which required whole lot of codes that need to be changed and enabled for greater than 2 digits. Y2K is basically nothing but prior to year 2000, everything in the coding world used to be seen as the last 2 digits as the year definition. Nobody at that point in time when they were coding realized that, look, at some point in time, you will go beyond 99 and it will become 00, right? So that's how that piece of work came into India. I think it started around 1998, 99, and it peaked in 2000 for the reasons all of us can understand, which is change of the code. And then that showed to the world that, look, here is a country which has literally unlimited potential of resources who are smart and above average when it comes to the global average in terms of analytical skills, and they can be brought into doing things that could help them reduce the cost. That's how we started our journey in the country. We were literally at the lowest end of the value chain at that time, right? As the time passed by, and thanks to all the smart people that we have always had in this country, people who are working in those BPOs, KPOs, business process outsourcing, knowledge process outsourcing, or call centers, started to demonstrate that they were capable of much more than what they were hired for, right? And they started to contribute to process reengineering, changing of systems, giving those ideas that could help the global company really bring in a lot more productivity and an innovative way of working. While this was going on the parallel front, you also had a whole lot of smart people in the country thinking about future. So in 2007, 2008 period, we had some really smart people work on citizen services. And to enable the citizen services, it was decided that we'll create a database of identity of every citizen in the country, right? Aadhaar. All of us know about Aadhaar. All of us carry Aadhaar cards. All of us, at the point when it had started, were questioning, and we were very skeptic of what Aadhaar could do. Nobody had imagined that Aadhaar would become the backbone of many innovative digital services that would get launched over a period of time. Today, frankly speaking, most of the platforms, the digital platforms that you can think of, have a linkage to Aadhaar in some way or the form. It could be KYC related. It could be just to get to know the person beyond just the KYC. It could be about making sure that you're talking to the right person, etc., and giving the benefits to the right person. It is embedded in our daily life. Well, in some form and shape, we are lucky as a country that we never ever, embedded the copper in the ground. We never really went about setting up a big telephony environment, and communication prior to the mobile phones was something that the country used to lag big time. Come 2G, mobility became a reality. Come 4G, 5G, now mobile phones are with everybody. I mean, you can't think of anybody who doesn't carry a mobile phone. Even help at home, today probably will have multiple phones versus maybe 30 years back that nobody had a phone. I can tell you from my own growing up years that, to get a telephone connection at home, you had to make an application to a company called MTNL. Okay, it stood for Mahanagar Telephone Nigam Limited. And you had to go and pray to the God that your connection comes in. It used to take years to get a connection. Today, you want a phone connection, you don't need to talk to anybody. Just go to the smallest of the Kirana shop and he will give you a SIM card and you are up and running with a mobile phone of telephone connectivity. 2014, the new government, the current government, I should say, the government came into power, and it said it wants to see more inclusion on the financial front. So they wanted to bring more and more citizens into formal banking system. And they came up with this big program called Jan Dhan. Jan Dhan created what is called as inclusion of a common person in the banking system. Obviously, it was done with two very, very good and noble intent. Number one, it was about ensuring that the benefits to the rightful person goes down to the person in their account, right? And the other, I think the objective, which probably was a smaller objective, but again an important one, was to bring the savings of everybody into the formal banking system. Now, if you have savings coming into your formal banking system, what it does is that it strengthens the banking system to be able to lend money for those projects that can then be towards development of the country and increase of commerce. When you have the money, when the bank has the money, what will it do? It will lend it, right? That's their business. That trinity, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, mobility, it's called JAM. That trinity really changed the landscape in this country. While that was happening, innovation was taking off big time in the country. In the last 5 or 6 years, you will see that there have been amazing number of startups that have come up. Why? Because suddenly folks have realized that there is a way to create services, to create products that could then be sold to the domestic market. Right? The domestic market itself has become very big. Today we can boast of, as a country, we can boast of 350 million middle class households. 350 million. That's more than the population of US. US population, I think, is 343 or 344, some number like that. We are bigger than that. So we are a consumption market. We are domestic consumption market. Unlike China, which is exports market, India is a consumption market. What that does is that it creates infinite possibilities, infinite opportunities for everybody who's joining the formal professional world. Unbelievable opportunities. Now, I would like to say that, look, around 2008, 2009, it was the trinity of JAM. Today, it is trinity of entrepreneurship, innovation, and digitization. And I think you couldn't be asking for a better start to your career than this. When youngsters like you ask me, what is that you wish you would like to do, you didn't do so far? I say, I just wish I could reverse the biological clock, go back in time, and be like you as in a 20 or 21-year-old. Because the future is super exciting in India and super bright. Now it's up to us as citizens of the country to take the things in our hands, be responsible, do things that can help not just the country, but also the society at large, and do things that could then create a much better place for everyone in this country. Now, having said that, I think it's important for me to share with you that, look, I had a very humble start. I did not start with any kind of call it entitlement. I grew up in a small city called Bhilai. Anybody from Bhilai here? तू भिलाई से है? लगता नहीं है यार. लगता नहीं है तू भिलाई से है. कहाँ से? भिलाई में कहाँ से? That's where my bua used to live. Of course, they moved from there. Good, we should talk separately. Yeah. No, there was a point in time Bhilai used to contribute big time to the seats in IIT Madras. It was sought after college in Bhilai. Yeah, so I come from a very humble place, and I would like to just share a couple of golden nuggets from my life, so that you 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 try and see if that makes sense to you. It resonates with you. Keep it with you. It doesn't throw it out of the window. Don't even bother about it. The first thing I'd like to say that, listen, life is all about choices you make. It's all about choices you make, right? And just to give you an example, when I was in Bhilai, I don't know whether he studied or not. We used to rugger out a lot. We used to study a lot for all these competitive exams, including IIT, JEE, and at that point in time, Bhilai was part of Madhya Pradesh state. So there used to be a pre-engineering test. And in my time, I'm talking about 1984. 1984 is when I passed my class 12th. There weren't too many options. You do engineering, you don't want to do engineering, you do medical, you don't do medical, you're doomed. The entire city will say useless. There was nothing called any other discipline, any other, profession. That's how it was. It was a small city. It's big. It's become bigger now, but it was a small city, so it was like that. And of course, like anybody else, one also gave an exam. I did IIT JEE. I did pre-engineering test of Madhya Pradesh. IIT JEE, my rank was pretty long listed. Today I got to know there are 28 IITs. My time there were only 4 IITs. Okay, and my rank was 1800 and something. So in the counseling they said take civil in IIT Mumbai, and I said civil. Okay, I don't know whether I did the right thing or not, but I was like, okay, that's interesting, but not so interesting. I was very clear in my mind, basis all the conversations that I had with my seniors and little information that you could get from the newspapers, that the rising star amongst all the industries was IT, electronics, com science. And that got into my head. I said, if I want to do something, I want to do in com science or electronics. And then came the counseling of pre-engineering test. There I was lucky. Don't go by my rank there. I was purely lucky. I was third ranked in pre-engineering test. And I had the options. Suddenly I had the options. I wasn't like pushed into taking civil or a branch of not my choice. Went in for counseling, and before going into the counseling, my father, who was an accomplished mechanical engineer of those days, said, take mechanical. Luckily for me, he didn't go into the counseling room because he was not allowed. I was only allowed inside. Went in, they asked me, what do you want? I said, com science. Oh no, that first rank he took it in Trichy. Then they said, what else do you want? I said, com science anywhere else. They said, there's nowhere else that you can get a com science. There was only Trichy that was offering com science, and IITs were offering com science. I said, okay. Electronics. Oh, second rank he took the electronics in Trichy. I said, okay, so where do you have? Where do you have electronics? They said, Suratkal. Okay, that's KREC, Karnataka Regional Engineering College, Suratkal. I didn't know where Suratkal was. I said, okay, give it to me. Took it, came out. Didn't tell my dad that I had taken electronics. This was in Bhopal. Bhopal to Bhilai is a 12-hour, 14-hour journey by train. Came back home. I didn't tell him. Entered home. Mom said, मिल गया ब्रांच? बोला हाँ मिल गया. क्या लिया? अब तो बताना है. So I said, electronics. My dad, what? I said, yeah, electronics. He said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm very sure. His colleagues who had joined from premier institutes, had done electronics engineering, had scared my dad that the pass rate in electronics is hardly anything. So he tell him not to take electronics. That was his scare. He had lost confidence in me that I could clear by myself. So he was like doing all the extra work on his own. Then came the time when I was to pick up my location after my engineering. Where will I work? During our final year in that industrial training program, we had gone to different cities. I don't know whether you still do industrial training, but in my time, there used to be industrial training. So you had to go to industry and spend some time, couple of days, and understand the processes, how things happen, etc., etc. We'd been to Mumbai, and I was super impressed with that city, super impressed. I didn't know the nuances of the city. Everybody during the campus interviews were choosing the location of comfort. Go here, go there, don't go there. I had seen it myself, I had read about it, and I'd been following the city for a little while, and I said, look, if I want to make my professional career, I want to be in Mumbai. And that's how I picked up Mumbai. The interviewer actually asked me, do you have somebody with whom you can stay? I said, no. How will you manage your accommodation? I said, I'll figure that out. Landed up in Mumbai. The point I'm trying to drive is that, look, it's about the choices you make. Life is about choices. And when you're choosing, please, for God's sake, don't follow the herd. For God's sake, don't follow the herd. It's important to make up your mind, basis your analysis and your gut. If your gut says that's what you need to be doing, go do it. It may still mean following the herd, which is okay. But at least you have made that call basis your analysis, basis your thought process. Take information from everybody. I'm not saying be arrogant and block your ears and don't listen to people. Please listen to everybody. Listen to your friends, listen to your elders, listen to your teachers, listen to any expert that comes in and talks to you, but make your choice. The day you make your choice, you commit yourself. You commit yourself to an extent that you'll make it work. You'll make it work. Right? I made a choice of picking up electronics. I had to make it work. Was it easy? No. Was it a cakewalk? Absolutely no. And I have had a decent academic track record there. I don't want to get into it. Decent academic track record. And my dad, after first year is common, as you know, for everybody, all disciplines. He was okay. He said, theek kar raha hai. Second year, he started sweating. Third semester, I remember I went home. His first question was, pass to ho jayega na? Well, dekhte hain, pass hoga ki nahi. And then when the exam results came, I showed him, I said, boss, now you stop worrying here. Enough, I can manage. And then, of course, things were smooth. Same thing. Mumbai was not easy. Mumbai was not easy. Mumbai in 1988, when I started working in Mumbai, would never give a house on rent to a bachelor. Wouldn't give. Why? Because bachelors are, you know how it is. I don't want to get into those details. Right? You understand. Even if they would give, they would say 11 months later, please vacate. Why? Because there's a Rent Control Act in Maharashtra that meant that if you were to stay in a place greater than 11 months, you could claim the ownership of that place. It was a stupid act, got changed, but that's where one started. What I'm trying to tell you is that it's not easy when you take a call, but if you take a call with a clarity in your head as to this is what is going to do the best for you, then you're committed to it. You will make it work. And that's important in life. So don't follow the herd. If herd has to be followed because your mind tells you and your heart tells you that's what you need to do, that's okay. If you digress and do something else because that's what your mind and heart tells you, great, don't worry. It will work out for you. It will work out for you. The second thing I like to say that, look, you all are very accomplished students. Academically, you are brilliant, right? You won't reach an IIT if you were not. And especially if there are 28 IITs and you are in the top 4 IIT, you are made up of steel. Your willpower, your determination, your perseverance, your hard work is no doubt. These traits are phenomenal. You don't succeed in life by not having these traits. Show me one example of anybody in any field who has succeeded without showing the determination, perseverance, and hard work. Show me one example. Inheritance is different. Inheritance is different. Now, Kaviraj has inherited a lot of wealth. That's different. People like me, I can tell you, it's not inheritance, right? Am I right, Kavi? You just told me upstairs. You told me you have palaces, bungalows. I don't know what all he has, right? So my point is, guys, at the end of the day, these traits are great. Protect them. Don't get corrupted and lose them. Don't dilute these traits that you have. These should be your core traits that you take to eternity. Eternity means as long as you live, right? Just keep it with you. But don't stop here. Don't stop here. The biggest mistake we Indians make is we show excellence in academics. We just do very well in academics, and we think everything else should happen by itself. This world, the real world, which you will be stepping in the next couple of years or maybe in a year or whatever, I don't know which year you all belong to, real world demands more than that. Real world demands a well-rounded personality. Well-rounded personality. Let me just step back and share with you as to what I mean by what I'm saying. He's come from Bhilai. I don't know whether he will agree with me right now or not, but I can tell you, in 1984, Bhilai was full of people who would speak in one language, which is Hindi. That was a common language. It was a Cosmo environment. People had come from Bengal, people had come from UP, Bihar, Punjab, South India, all of the states in South. People had just come there and they had made Bhilai a home. So it's a very Cosmo environment. But for whatever reasons, Hindi became a common language. In fact, senior secondary school sector 10 had beautiful campus, beautiful from those days standards, and it had very capable teachers. But these teachers would speak in a language which I would call it as Hinglish. Half Hindi, half English. So the terms would be in English and the rest of the language of explanation would be in Hindi. Now, if you're studying in that environment, what happens? You create a bit of a, I would call it, a bit of a roadblock in your mind about being able to speak in English. Here I landed up in Surathkal, not knowing that Surathkal had 50% of the seats that were taken away by Bangaloreans. Karnataka, 50% would, RECs are basically 50% the local state and 50% from rest of the states. So Karnataka mostly, 50% of Karnataka mostly used to be taken away by Bangaloreans. So day one, I walk into the college and everybody's speaking in English. Like, my God, how do I interact with these guys? Now, what happens is if your general upbringing is in a particular language, that becomes your native thinking language. So you think in that language, and when you're speaking, you're converting, translating that language into what you're saying, right? It becomes a bit of a hurdle. I very quickly realized that this is not something that I can get away with. I need to become comfortable in speaking in English, right? There's another element. I realized I wasn't mixing with others. I wasn't really going out and reaching out. And I had a stage scare, if I can be open about it. Is that I don't have a stage scare today? No. When I'm getting up on the stage, I have butterflies in my stomach. That's a fact. Now you speak to anybody who's on the stage and who gets onto the stage very often, they'll tell you there is a butterfly in the stomach before getting onto the stage. It's not because you're scared, it's just because you have anxiety to perform. On the stage you're performing, right? So it's an anxiety to perform. Some of these things I realized I need to get over. I leveraged my time in RAC Surathkal to get over it. That's what I meant when I said rounded personality. Luckily for me, I had the opportunities. I participated in drama there. I participated in a whole lot of other activities that would get me onto the stage. I started to talk to my friends in English. There's a very, very good friend of mine. He did his IPS. He became the deputy collector, and then later on decided to resign and get into professional world. He came from a college, or rather I should say school. He was in a residency school. So he came from a school where they used to speak in English, teach English really well. So I started talking to him. I said, "मेरे को English सिखा यार." Right? Now, why am I telling you this? You have an opportunity ahead of you to build your personality. Don't lose this time. Go experiment with yourself. Expose yourself to other things. See what works for you. Not everything that worked for me will work for you. But you need to figure this out. Nobody else will come and figure this out for you. Your parents are now, we've done what we could do with you. We can only pay for your fees, or your hostel expenses, etc. That's it. Teachers will teach you. Maybe they'll give you half an hour, 45 minutes extra versus your other friend. That's it. But you need to figure out as to what you need to be adding to your personality that will help you in future. Academics, extremely important. Please don't get corrupted. Don't land up into not studying. Please don't land up into not working hard. That's given. That's given. Whether it is Kapil Dev or Sachin or Rahul Dravid or Dhoni or Virat Kohli or Rohit, any of these guys, they really, really work hard. Don't go by the ads that come in the TV or ads in the newspaper or anywhere. That's all fancy. But actually behind all of that is real hard work. Very, very hard work, right? So don't get corrupted. But experiment with your personality. Figure out what makes sense to you. Go pick that up. This is the time. This does not stop. This journey does not stop. That's the good part of it. You have to continue to invest in your personality all your life. You have to continue to reskill, upskill, cross-skill all the time. You can't survive in the real world without really doing that. That's also adding to your personality, right? The third nugget that I like to leave you with is, which probably I didn't really pursue with as much sincerity I should have in the initial part of my life, but in the last couple of decades, last 2 decades, I would say I've been very focused on it, which is help others. Authentic help, genuine help will make sure that you have a network that will be super strong and will help you without even you asking for that help. Authentic and genuine help is not that you go and help somebody with an intention. आज मैं इसको help कर देता हूँ, कल ये मेरे को help करेगा. No. Authentic, genuine help will help you when the time comes that you are looking for help without even you asking for it. People talk about network, I'm sure there are a whole lot of lectures that happen here. People say, oh, network is very important. Network is very important. But network also does not work when it is built with an intention. You soon realize that that relationship doesn't really deliver when you want it to deliver. But if you are authentic in the very first place, you land up building a network which is super strong. Super, super strong. There was an ad of Ambuja Cement, that said super strong. That's what it is. Right? Now, I'll extend that. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I have realized that all of us pursue our aspirations and goals with something in mind. And once you get there, you say, oh, what was I chasing? What was I chasing? Is this what I was chasing? And then the self-realization comes in, and then you start questioning yourself and you say, what am I missing? And then you say, oh, listen, I'm missing that happiness. I'm missing that, that set of people that I enjoy having with me, and I'm missing that level of engagement with people, right? And then you start saying, oh, okay, I need to correct this. That's why I said I probably corrected myself two decades back. Early 2000 is when the realization came to me. I'll be very precise. I think it was 2006. 2006 is when I stepped out of IBM to go and lead AMD as the managing director of AMD in India. That was all of 40 years. I was super, super lucky. And it happened because a couple of years earlier than that, I had changed my style of working. And without my knowing, somebody talked about me to somebody, and that AMD came calling saying, come, we'd like to talk to you and see if you can help us in India. After I got the job, maybe a year later, I realized that call went to AMD from somebody whom I had just helped. Just without any intentions, I'd helped. It came back to me. And after that, I have actually tracked so many things that have happened, which I say, shit, I just did it. I didn't expect anything in return. It's coming back to me. It also helps you make home in people's heart. You can make a building and place your name on top of it and say, whatever, Sangeeta, Rajni, whatever your name is, Rajni House and Sangeeta House or whatever. The day that building becomes old, that name goes, right? But if you make your name in people's heart, make your home in people's heart, then that doesn't go away. It always remains, right? And that's very important. So please help. Compete. Competition is okay. But not everything is competition, right? Not everything is competition. There's also something called a relationship, human to human relationship. And help does not mean that you have to spend a lot of money. Help can be anything. It can be just teaching somebody who doesn't have the access to knowledge. It can be just helping somebody cross the road. These days, when you're on the road, you see people ignoring a blind man not being able to cross the road. That's crazy. It's just crazy. I don't know. It's crazy for me. I don't know about you, but it's crazy, right? Those are three big tickets. Somebody had said very wisely that if you go beyond three, then people don't remember. So I'm going to just leave you with those three. Do your analysis. Do what you need to do. Think about it. Don't need to follow the herd. Path will be very, very tough. But you will get there, right? Second, look at your personality. What's that you think you can gain by changing in that personality over and beyond what you have done very well? Your traits that brought you here should remain with you. Build on it. Finally, please help. Genuine, authentic help. Not with an intention. Did I sound like a professor? Yeah? Looks like. And you were like, okay, one more class. Yes or no? यार क्या एनर्जी है इस रूम में यार? I'm like 3 times your age, yeah. You would have guessed by now. What's my age? क्या बोली? In 2006 I was 40, which means I'm 1966 born. IDJ rank क्या था? I'm just kidding, sorry. By the way, you did the right thing of coming and introducing. I know you're trying to build that confidence of being in front of the audience. Good. Keep it up. Do that. Do more of it. One day you'll start enjoying it. Like today I enjoyed being in front of a crowd. crowd कम होता है तो लगता है क्या है यार, थोड़ा और लोगों को लेके आओ, right? The other day I was in some convocation ceremony. There were some 4,000 kids, and I said, "Okay, I'll talk." And when I went to the stage, they said, "Can we allow the parents also to come in?" I said, "If your hall allows or can accommodate, please." There's 8,000 people, and it was fun talking to them. Yeah, let me open it up for a conversation. Any questions? Anything that I can help you with? That's playing on your mind? Don't ask me for my salary. Um don't ask me for anything to do with my girlfriends. I have only one girlfriend. Her name is Sheenam Ohrie. You're sending me out? Sheenam Ohrie, if you Google search on her, you will find her. She's the managing director of Broadridge Financials. I'm super proud that she's a managing director of a company and she has been able to achieve her aspirations. I really truly believe in diversity and inclusion. It starts at home. You should know, unlike you guys who are super lucky to not go through the classified ads for a marriage. I'm sure all of you are planning something other than that. In my case, I had to go through the classified ads. कोई मिल नहीं रहा था. Parents बोलते तेरे को शादी करना है कि नहीं? मैं करना है. One classified ad rounded off. Luckily, it happened to be Sheena, and I met her. My dad was very progressive, very forward thinking. So I'm a Punjabi. In Punjabis, you don't go and meet the girl alone. My dad said, "Go meet her." I said, "You come?" "No. हम लोग भिलाई में. How can we come? She's in Bangalore. Go meet her." Okay. Went to her. First 5 minutes, I said, "I've heard you're an engineering grad." She said, "Yeah." She was working in CITL at that time, Citicorp Information Technology Limited. It used to be it eventually became Flex, iFlex, and then iFlex became Oracle and all of that. Don't worry about that. So I said, "You're working today. Would you continue working after marriage?" She was terrified. Here is a guy who's wanting to sit at home and wanting to marry an engineer. So she said, "Why did you ask?" I said, "I asked because I want to know what will you do? Will you continue to work or not?" He said, "Listen, I will work, but I'll work according to my preference. If I want to work till the age of 58, 60, I'll work. If I want to retire at the age of 25, 30, I'll like to retire. That should not be the condition for marriage." I said, "I'm not making a condition for marriage. I'm just asking you because you took away a seat from somebody who was as eligible as you. Now you better well make sure that you utilize your time in a meaningful manner and not sit at home and do nothing. So you can continue to work as long as you want to work. The day you stop working and not working for money, I'm okay, but you will do some social service, which is at least teach the kids in the neighborhood." उसको क्या मालूम था फंस रही है, फंस गई. That's it. Today is the day. And of course, I'm joking. I'm just joking. I'm really proud of her achievements. She became the MD just about 2 years back, and she's doing a fabulous job. You will find her on LinkedIn quite active. She's also a big supporter of women in business and in the professional world. I'm a big supporter, and yeah, I mean, it's important. It's important to ensure that there is a equality and there's diversity. Diversity brings in diverse ideas, creativity that just get to become bigger and larger, and it helps any environment. It helps at home. It helps it in the personal life. It helps. Also, it helps in the business world.
So I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So if you look at, over a period of time, you have been at the managing director level for several years. Like, so if you look at broadly the kind of activities that you spend your time on, right? Like, so planning versus running the organization versus people issues versus strategy versus, or broadly some 3 or 4 categories. How will it be like,
Very, very tough question. It's not about what percentage one spends on, it is about the priorities that you need to define. And it keeps changing from time to time, right? There could be a time in a year or in a quarter where you need to prioritize execution versus strategy, because that's the only way you can get to achieve the milestones that you have set as a big plan. Obviously, it has to start with a big plan. You have to paint the canvas, which is in many ways in the business world called vision. And having painted that canvas, you will obviously have a strategy to achieve whatever you defined as your vision. Now, strategy will have elements of whole lot of actions that are to be driven from word go. And when you're doing that, you will not be able to go back and do more of strategy. You will say, okay, right now my first milestone is this, and I need to achieve that, and I need to be doubling down on execution front, and you will start focusing on execution. So all the activities that are in and around execution would take a priority. A revisit on the strategy because something is not working, and if it is detrimental to your overall vision, you will obviously prioritize that the next day and say, oh, no, let me pull that up and let me just worry about it because this is all going in a wrong direction, right? Having said that, to me, a balance of both is the best way to run a business. So I definitely consciously give time to running the business and building the business. I would do that simultaneously. In a day, priorities can change. In a week, priorities can change. But it doesn't go beyond a month. It doesn't go beyond a month. It has to be in that short, clock, because if you let it be, then you would have indexed yourself onto one side too much. And that would be detrimental to your overall vision, overall goals and aspirations that you have for yourself. So from a business point of view, it's a balance of both. Don't we do that in our personal life also? We do the same thing in the personal life. We prioritize. We pick a few and say, okay, this is important and immediately to be done, and the rest you leave it, right? So it's a combination of both and a balance of both. Yeah, yes, please.
I heard a lot from in the market that as the age increases 40, 50, 60, learning will be decreases a lot and like become a dumb like that. I heard, really don't laugh please.
अरे यार वो बोल रहा है कि तू डंब हो गया तो
No sir, as comparing with 20 years young guy, a 60 years person, learning will be decreased. That's what is your comment on that?
Learning decreases for people who are not curious. If you can maintain that curiosity all your life, you'll always be learning. And learning is not about learning in the domain that you are in. Learning is about learning about anything and everything, because at the end of the day, this is all an interconnected environment, right? What you see in one domain is very relevant in the other domain as well. And there have been times when I'm sitting in front of a customer, talking to the customer, and I may have read something, seen something on YouTube, or maybe a podcast, heard something, and it suddenly connects, and I'm able to make a conversation with that customer because it all got connected, right? Knowledge, the volume of information, the knowledge is unlimited. It's unlimited. It depends on how much you want to go, how deep you want to go. But if you're curious, you will continue to seek knowledge. You'll continue to seek for that wisdom, right? And that's important. Now, if you come into IT industry, you better be ready, because this is a treadmill. You can get onto it, but you can't get off it. Treadmill of learning. I can't tell you the pace at which the products and the services and the offerings change in this industry. You may have read about Moore's law. Every 18 months, the clock speed and the processor power doubles. That's what Moore's law says. And they brought it to reality. Intel brought it to reality, which means the changes were so often. By the way, now the changes are much more rapid. It's much faster than that, right? So, curiosity. If you're curious, and that's one thing I like to leave you all with, please remain curious. The other thing I keep saying this to all the youngsters is read what you like, but also read what you don't like. I'll repeat, read what you like, but also read what you don't like. So there are subjects that say, please read.
Thank you, sir.
You'll have a mental block, but you'll still gain. You'll still gain. I'll remember that, huh? तू मेरे को 60 बोला.
Okay, sir. So you studied electronics and you got
You
into.
said, sir. Please call me Alok.
Okay.
Huh.
So look, you studied electronics and you got into the world of electronics, and I wanted to ask what got you interested, because when you were telling about your story, you said you wanted computer science or electronics and you just got electronics. But in your journey, what got you interested in electronics, and go deeper into that?
So I got interested in electronics because of what was being written at that point in time in the newspapers. And I had, as I said, I had seniors who were good friends, and they were talking about it, and I was fascinated. So I should share a little more with you. Vilai Steel Plant had something called programmable logic controllers, PLCs. These are the controllers that are what in today's world you would call it IoT. They had sensors. They would measure the temperature inside the blast furnace. I hope you understand all this, right? Blast furnace, and they would give an indication whether it is at the right level of temperature or not, and then you would change the gas flow into it and increase or decrease, whatever. So during the vacation days, my dad used to ask me, "Do you want to come and sit with me in the plant?" Yeah, I would go, and I'm still fascinated with machinery. While I've done electronics as my major, but I'm very fascinated with machinery. So I would go and sit there and look at these guys, and people would be saying, PLC, this is the temperature. Now we're like, oh shit, you can actually measure a temperature inside a blast furnace. I mean, that was, as a kid, it was like, my God, this is like crazy, right? I think combination of those 3-4 things, and the fact that the media was talking too much about IT industry being the next rising star and all that, it got me interested. Now, do I do anything about electronics right now? Answer is zero. Zero. When I cleared my final semester, we didn't have companies lining up outside our campus for hiring. Hiring in India at that point in time used to be one big thing. If you get a campus offer, oh, that's big. And in our days, there used to be one offer for one student. So if you got one offer, that's it. You can't apply for any other companies. I went in talking to the interviewer saying, hey, listen, I want to do something in electronics. I had a fair amount of understanding on microprocessor programming. I was good at that. I used to love that. And I used to, in fact, final year, we had this project to be done. It's called, we had called it Error Correction Code, ECC. So we had connected two PCs, 8085 processors, and shown that you can insert an error and see the corrected transmission on the other end. I was super excited about it. I went to this interview and I said, I want electronics. The gentleman who was doing the interview said, do you know there is hardly anything about electronics in India? At that time, it was screwdriver technology. Something goes wrong, pull the card out, put the new card, the old card, throw it away. Don't even bother. There was no facility to repair those cards and all. Components didn't exist. Joined, went through the induction. The gentleman, after 1 month, comes back to me and says, what do you want to do? I said, I'll go do technical support. He said, tu frustrate ho jayega. Why don't you get into going? You anyway picked up Mumbai. I need somebody out there to go and convince the customers to deploy computers. That time, deployment of computers meant job losses. Like today, everybody's saying AI means job loss. It doesn't happen that way. A new technology doesn't take away the job. New technology takes away a job in one part of the organization, but it creates new jobs in some other part of the organization. Right? It's different skills. Okay, I said, okay, I'll do that. Tried it for 1 year, 2 years, and I got liking to do what I was doing. That's how it is. I hardly do anything about electronics. So if you take me to the lab now and say, please identify the components on this board, I will be like struggling. It goes back to the point I was making. It's about making up your mind and choosing what you think you would like to commit yourself to. I committed to electronics. It became my platform of launch. Having got launched from there, I was very aspirational right from day one. I was very clear I want to be something, blah, blah, blah. So just pursued it.
Thank you.
So you joined Dell at a moment where Dell had gone indirect. Dell was direct all those years, whilst the competition was already indirect. And the way you've taken Dell to where it is today, I mean, the changes that you made then would have been humongous, unlike another leader, right? So do you still talk to us about that little bit? And also, do you still follow the same strategies that you set, or?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a philosophy that I follow, and all the strategies, vision, strategy, all comes from there. The philosophy that I follow is customer is king, and any company that wants to succeed in business has to follow an outside-in approach. More often than not, what happens is that the companies, when they become inward-looking, they start to flounder. They start to miss the heartbeat in the market. They may continue to be able to deliver reasonable results, not strong, reasonable results for some time, and that is because of the traction, the momentum that keeps them going. A few years down the line, they will struggle. That's because they are looking inwards. What are you in the business for? You are in the business of serving the customer. It could be a product, it could be a service, it could be anything. Zomato is in the business of serving the customer with a delivery. Tata Motors is in the service of making cars that have an experience for the customer that is beautiful and nice and comfort of commute, right? So on and so forth, right? So the way I look at business, and this is what I've done from day one, is that look outside and then build your strategies that will help you achieve the goals that you have for yourself. Of course, in that process, in the organization, they say you are never satisfied. I say, yeah, because the day you become satisfied, he will say you are 65 years old, right? So I'm not satisfied. I like to push the envelope a little more and a little more to see where it can reach.
Thank you.
Sir, when we talk about today's startup world, so there are like many ventures, they are working into different sectors as of now. So when we start as an entrepreneur at this level and we really want to make it in some sector, there is already some big competition sitting there for us. So at a personal and professional level as an entrepreneur, what skills or what personal attitude should you have when you fight against these companies?
Very good question. You're entering a market where there are already players. First of all, go back to the point I made. Study the market well, outside in. What is it the market is looking for, right? And if you find that the players that are operating in that market are doing a damn good job, really, really a good job of the expectation of the customer in the market and serving the demand really well, then it's going to be very tough haul. Then you have to differentiate yourself with whatever. Either you're making a product or a service, that has to be differentiated. That has to be like You have to really think through. That's the best creative juices have to come out and innovate in that space. If it's a market which is full of customers who are finding gaps and call it, some level of dissatisfaction, discontent, then it's pretty easy to crack. Now you have to pick and choose whether you just want to follow the herd because the market, as you saw, and the need that you saw is being served by others, and that's what you want to do, or you want to define that need in a different way. If the competition is very strong, see if you can change the definition of that need. If you change the definition of the need, then the market will come towards you.
And so,
Go back in time. The last thing.
Yeah.
Go back in time. Did we have low-cost airlines in India 3 decades back? No. Right? Somebody came up and said, shit, that's a need. Now today, no low-cost airlines exist. Indigo will sell you a ticket at X price, then keep asking you to pay more. It finally comes to the same price that you have for a regular airline, right? And they'll make you sit on a chair that does not have a cushion also, right? I hope this is not getting into the public domain.
and so one more question was, any personal book recommendation from your side that these are really good books to learn some good skills, and in particularly management sector, non-technical side, these are really
There's a book by name Focus. It's written by Alries, Alries. See if you can find that book. Read that book. It's unbelievably. It opens up your thought process.
Thank you, sir.
And when you put up your startup, make sure that you give me at least 10% of the equity. Yeah. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. I think I'll conclude this. I know it's pretty late for you guys. I'm sure you're keeping very, very busy schedule. So it was great interacting with you. And yeah, as I said earlier, if any of those messages resonate with you, keep it with you. Otherwise, just forget it. It's okay. We had a good time. We had a good interaction. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful talk. I now invite Professor Mr. Kaviraj Nair to please felicitate Mr. Alok.